Next up, we have fire. I always think of Beavis and Butthead when it comes to fire, and I'm thinking that's like fire, fire, fire. I'm dating myself right there. Chris Robertson's with the Maryland Forest Service, and I'll let him provide a little bit more background on himself, but he's going to give us a practical guide on what you can think about and need to know when it comes to prescribed fire. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thanks, Luke. Yeah, again, Chris Robertson. I'm the State Fire Supervisor with the Maryland Forest Service. So I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of the our prescribed fire program in Maryland. It's going to kind of just talk about some of the guidances that we follow when we're talking about prescribed fire. It's also guidance to our partners in DNR with the Park Service and Wildlife and Heritage Service, and it also provides guidance for private landowners if you are wanting to engage in prescribed fire on your property as a private landowner or a contractor or anything like that. So as long as I can move through this a little bit. So pretty much everything that we do in the Forest Service is governed by what we call operations orders. So we have one on prescribed fire, kind of outlines.
Step to the left.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so it kind of just outlines what we can expect for our personnel within DNR on prescribed fires. It also spells out qualifications for our personnel as far as who can lead a burn. And it also gets into who can lead a burn on private lands as well. So it's just a snapshot of what the operations order looks like. We don't have time to get into all the details about it, but just know that when it comes to what qualifications you need to have, there is a document that specifies what we require. One of those is a prescribed fire workshop, which we are working with Dan and Luke on possibly doing this next spring, I think it is, or later this fall. But we will be doing a prescribed burn workshop here on the Eastern Shore. So again, operations order. We're also regulated by COMAR and DNR regulations. So this is where all the regulations comes in. Burning permit is required to conduct any burning in Maryland. So along with any burn plan that you need to have written, and we'll talk about burn plan in a minute, but burning permit is required. These are free of charge. We don't charge for a burning permit. We do come out and inspect the site and look at it, make sure everything is safe. The burning permits are good for generally 30 days, and they can be renewed over the phone as needed. Burn plans, it's a terrible slide, but this is just an example of a Maryland Forest Service burn plan. We'll accept other formats of burn plans, but generally the parameters that are specified in our plan are bare minimums. This is required on anything over an acre. So anything that you want to try to burn over 1 acre in size has to have a burn plan submitted through your local Forest Service office. It gets reviewed by a regional fire manager, and then if it gets approved, then you can carry out your burn plan based on those parameters, along with the burning permit that was also mentioned on the previous slide. Anything under an acre, we can just do with the burning permit. So the burning permit and a verbal burn plan, through just talking it out and letting everybody know what you're doing. But anything over an acre requires a burn plan. And just some slides of some prescribed burning in different parts of the state. As a service, we do provide that service to landowners, prescribed burning services, and we'll talk about some of the limitations to that here in a few slides. But it is a service that we do provide. Agency conducted prescribed fires, they're primarily conducted on lands that we manage or owned by DNR or managed by DNR. They're utilized to meet various objectives, land management goals and objectives, whether that's hazardous fuel reduction, invasive species control, habitat restoration for plants and wildlife, and then site preparation and many other things. Our priorities for prescribed fires are obviously our state lands, understory hazardous fuel reduction, site preparation, and then marshlands. We do some marsh burning in previous years ago. We used to do a lot more than we do now, but again, we have so many state lands that need this kind of practice to take place. We're more focused on our state lands as a priority. Maryland Forest Service cooperators conduct most of the prescribed burns in Maryland. Some of those examples are the Fish and Wildlife Service at Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge, and here at Patuxent, they do a lot of burning as well. U.S. Army does some burning at Aberdeen, mainly to for protection of the range fires that they start when they're doing ordnance things. They do some prescribed burning there. National Park Service, our DNR Wildlife and Heritage Service, and Park Service, the Nature Conservancy. Private contractors, there's not a lot of private contractors in the state of Maryland that are doing prescribed burning, and these are the only two that I know of. And I'm not even sure if Chesapeake Wildlife and Heritage is still active, but Sustainable Solutions is the other contractor. One of the things with contractors, it's so expensive to get insurance to be able to conduct these practices. So it's hard and it's expensive to get. So there's just not that many people doing those services as a private contractor. And then private landowners are doing a lot of burning as well. The average amount of burn plans that we review, these are plans that are submitted by different agencies, different landowners, and this is per region. As you can see, the bulk of the plans that are coming in are for the eastern region. 65 plans. This is an average, for over 18,000 acres. So that's a lot of burn plans that are coming in and getting reviewed and for potential practices to taking place. As you can see by this slide, this is basically what we're getting reported back to us as far as accomplishments. So a big difference, big drop in what is being actually reported back to us. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is only what's getting completed, but this is what gets reported back to us through a reporting system that we set up. So again, the bulk of that over on the Eastern Shore. But in 2022, we did complete 98 burns for over 9,000 acres. And again, that's all of our partners included. This year, so far in 2023, we've eclipsed that at 100 burns for just over 9,000 acres. So already in 2023, we've exceeded the amount of burns that we did in all of 2022. So I guess the takeaway there is the program is just expanding and expanding. Just another example of a prescribed burn, the before and after photographs from a burn out in Western Region, Washington County. Some of the challenges that we face as far as prescribed burning goes, as our burn windows, they tend to be very short here on the East Coast, and specifically in Maryland for us. Generally, when we have the right kind of weather conditions to do prescribed burning, we're also having wildfires. So you have to balance that workload between, okay, it's a good day to burn, but it's also a good day to have a wildfire, and we are mandated to respond to wildfires as an agency. So burn windows are short. You don't get a lot of good burning days strung together in a row. So you got to kind of get at it while you can. Agency priorities. So those again can be seasonal or departmental. Again, in the springtime when we do the bulk of our prescribed burning, we're also planting trees, having wildfires, and all kinds of other things going on. So again, different priorities take precedent, and it just goes back to our personnel. We are getting positions filled, but it takes time. Staffing levels are coming up, so it's always a balancing act to have enough personnel. And because we have a lot of turnover within the Forest Service and within DNRs in general, we have a lot of new people coming in. So personnel doesn't just mean bodies on the ground, it also means qualified bodies on the ground. So just because you have the people doesn't mean you have the right people with the right qualifications. So personnel is always a challenge. Infrastructure, again, in Maryland, we're dealing with a lot of infrastructure, communities, schools, roads, and things where we got to keep the smoke off of. So you got to be careful with the infrastructure, livestock, chicken houses on the shore, horse farms and things like that. We don't want to be smoking out things like that. Smoke is one of the biggest things that will shut down a burn program quicker than anything else. So it's, everybody felt the effects of the smoke from Canada, You know, if we go put smoke like that on a community from a prescribed fire, we're probably gonna, you know, hear some backlash about that. So I think coordination, it takes a lot of coordination because one, you know, as a Forest Service, we can't conduct these burns by ourselves. We got to bring in other partners. So it takes a lot of coordination to bring in our federal partners and our NGOs and things like that to help get the things accomplished. And budgets also play a part in that as well. And that's pretty much about it. Wow, I see some few hands.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned fire insurance for contractors.
Yep.
Are landowners required to buy fire insurance
Can you repeat
when
the
they're
question?
doing their own property?
Yeah, so the question is, since contractors are required to have insurance to conduct burns, is the same true for private landowners? The way I understand it, that your regular homeowner's insurance, you as the landowner, your homeowner's insurance would cover that. Yep. Yes.
Is this a fairly new program with the Maryland Forest Service? Because I've been burning for 15 years and I do deal with the county, but I didn't even know you all existed.
Yeah, so the question is this a new program? No, this program has been around, the Forest Service has been around since 1906. And so the regulations for prescribed burning and fire in general has been around since probably like the 50s. So yeah, it's nothing new. Yep. All right.
Great. Thank you, Chris.